Moving on to the regulatory element, and while Vincent will not go into detail on regulation itself, CEP is taking an important role in the international discussion, and that is what he's going to be reflecting on. We've heard a lot about hydrogen and fuel cell vehicles. Vincent Mattelaer from Toyota Motor Europe is no exception in that he's dealt very heavily with hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicles in the past years. He's one of the key persons for the rollout of the Toyota Mirai here in Europe, has been responsible for the serviceability in Europe of the first generation Mirai, and is now in R&D at TME evaluating the performance of the Mirais out in the field. So I'm sure you know a lot more about than you could tell us today, and that you will tell us today, but you will focus on CEP, where you are taking a role as well, along with other international organizations where you're involved in standardization and regulation of refueling and hydrogen quality. Vincent, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Uwe. Indeed, I will not present Toyota Motor Europe here, but the CEP and more the extension of the CEP towards the rest of Europe. So this picture, maybe the Germans under you will know, this was taken from the German astronaut Alexander Gerst, who lives in this region of North Rhine-Westphalia, and he was shocked by the how dry it was and how brown it was. It was not only the brown coal, which was brown, everything else also. And obviously there is a big need now that we are going to change, and we need to change very rapidly. And of all the sectors that are emitting greenhouse gases, I think we all know that transport sector really faces a huge challenge, because as you can see on the blue line, actually CO2 emissions have been increased in the past years. And so we need to reduce them at a very, very fast pace. And unfortunately, in order to do that, there is no single silver bullet. We will have to use all our ammunition in order to reduce that, and all our technologies. So, which actually basically means that we will, as BMW already said, we need both battery and fuel cell vehicles. And we don't know how many fuel cell vehicles there will be in the future. But what we can assume in a general way of talking is that if you have heavy loads and very long distance driving and you need very fast fueling, it will tend more towards fuel cell vehicles than to battery electric vehicles. But of course, this is a very simplification. And I fully agree with what Dr. Goldner from BMW said, that it really depends on the use case of the customer. For example, some taxis companies will prefer fuel cell vehicle towards battery electric vehicles because they drive with shifts and so on. So it's much more complex than shown on this slide. And this is also true, especially when we talk about hydrogen fueling on heavy-duty vehicles. There will not be one single silver bullet. It will depend on the use case. And so from the CEP point of view, subcooled liquid hydrogen or compressed cryogenic hydrogen will have its place next to the 35 megapascal compressed hydrogen, which is used currently quite a lot, which is a bit cheaper than the other options, but has also its drawbacks. And in between that, we will also have 700 bar or 70 megapascal high flow fast fueling available. So none of them are exclusive. All of them will have their needs depending on the location and the application of the different vehicles. And CEP supports all of these technologies. It will be the market that will decide which technology will be used. So what will the future hydrogen infrastructure look like? Well, we don't know the future, but we do believe that hydrogen will, of course, be a building block of the future portfolio of heavy-duty fueling. And there's still many questions to be answered. You can see the questions on these slides, the number of stations, where they are, and obviously the fact that some stations will need to be address all kinds of vehicles. Maybe some stations might be combined for ships and truck use. There are many possibilities. So the exact details still need to be checked. But the CEP and its German partners are ready and willing to contribute to this future and to act fast. So what CEP has as a challenge is that so what we have done is that first priority is that green hydrogen mobility will need to take the place first on the road. Then as a second priority, we will also discuss other transport routes. And for the road kind of condition, we have already established almost 100 stations together with H2 Mobility in Germany. And we have also approved already many stations outside Germany. And then we will also cover then other applications such as fleets, and we will support other modes as for transports, for forklifts, trucks, and maybe we could even go down to partner-owned networks. And we are not doing this on our own. We are a group of partners. There are many OEMs included, the most important OEMs you can see here, but there's still several missing. And we welcome other OEMs. Please join the CEP group so we can work together on this, and especially concerning the deployment of hydrogen stations. As Dr. Tupper and Dr. Guldner already said, that hydrogen station deployment is also key in order to have a success for the mobility. So what we are doing at CEP is that we need to have stations, of course, that are able to fuel our vehicles in a safe and also proper manner. And in order to do that, we are approving stations in Europe. So not only in Germany, but in the rest of Europe also. And on the H2 Live website or app, which you can see on the right side here, those are actually the stations that have been approved by the CEP and where all our vehicles are allowed to be refueled. So we have done already 162 stations for passenger car vehicles, 29 for bus, and there are still many more to come, especially in countries outside Europe. So these hydrogen refueling stations approvals, they are currently done by us, not the testing itself. The testing can be done by the HRS supplier or by ZSW as a third partner. You can see their trailer here on the picture on the left side. But we do check the reports and the results of the stations, and then we do the approval process. Obviously, it is not the intention that we will do this forever. The intention is that that in the end, notified bodies will take this over from us. And at this moment, we are training the notified bodies to explain them what the critical points are for fueling of hydrogen vehicles. So in the end, we hope that notified bodies in a few years will be ready to take this over from us. But it's not only the approval of stations. We do many more items. For bus fueling, for example, unfortunately, there was no real ready-made protocol available, especially not for Type 4 tanks. So in order to solve this problem, we have developed together with Wenger a refueling protocol for 350 bar for 20 to 42.5 kilogram of buses. Actually, we are also collaborating with many projects. Many of our members are also part of the PRIDE project and the ISO 19885-3 for refueling of heavy-duty vehicles. Concerning the liquid and bio-compressed hydrogen, there, as we also support this process, we have written a white paper process that can be used further for standardization institutes or working groups. It's not only about fueling. We have also made a position paper on the risk of fire for explosion potential for vehicles in garages, where we are collaborating with standardization institutes. And we have already provided a numerous amount of webinars in order to train the industry. So that's a quick overview of what the Clean Energy Partnership is doing. If there are any questions, of course, I will be more than happy to answer them.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Vincent, for the concise overview. Just one immediate question from my side. Testing the refueling stations is obviously important. I recall that getting refueling or getting the construction of a refueling station permitted on the ground can also be a challenge because regulations can differ nationally and even regionally. Is that also something that is a concern to you and that you would cover?
We know that it changes nationally, but what we are mainly looking at is on the safety point and performance point of view, do these stations meet our requirements? It doesn't matter from which country it is. So we are only looking at really the dispenser side, so the interoperability between the station and the vehicle. What we are not doing is the approval process for everything which is the station itself, so which is behind the wall, let's say. So that's a local regulatory service.
Yeah. Obviously, that makes a lot of sense. And other areas should be covered by the entities constructing the fueling stations.